Want to start a lively discussion among onophiles? Bring up the relationship between Zinfandel and Primitivo. That'll get the ball rolling. Welcome back to another episode of The Judgment of Chicago Park. Here at Montoliva, I work with exclusively Italian varietals, and I try to make my wines somewhat in the style that is typical of that varietal in Italy. So once in a while, it's fun to sit down with one of my wines and an Italian counterpart and see how they contrast and compare. Today, we're going to be contrasting and comparing a Primitivo from the Mandaria appellation of Puglia and a Montoliva Primitivo. Matera is grown in the Mandaria appellation. In Puglia, think the heel of the boot. The primary red grape grown in that region is Primitivo. Puglian Primitivos tend to exhibit a noticeable spiciness to them. They tend to be a little bit on the dry side. They usually require a couple of years in barrel to calm down some of the drier tannins that Puglian Primitivos often exhibit. This Primitivo is vintage 2016. Let's see what we think of this wine. I bought this wine off of wine.com. It cost me $30, not including shipping. Looking at it, it does exhibit a little bit of brickishness in the color, which indicates that it is a little oxidized. That's somewhat surprising. 2016, this isn't a particularly old wine, which leads me to believe that maybe this wine has not been as well cared for as it should have been before I got my hands on it. Ooh, well, okay. There's a lot of plum, some prunishness in the nose of this wine. Not of the cooked variety, so I would say that little bit of oxidization isn't fortunately overwhelming. Lots of plumminess on the front end as well, not a lot of structure. I would say that if the winemaker was trying to create a Lodi-esque Zinfandel, he succeeded. Unfortunately, I'm not buying an Italian Primitivo looking for a Lodi-esque Zinfandel. Let's see what we think of the Montoliva Primitivo. I can see straight away it's brighter in color, not unsurprising. I know how this wine is kept before it is opened. So it shows some bright color, which indicates it's got some appropriate acidity for a Primitivo. The nose is also brighter without being jammy. Just a little hint of white pepper, also appropriate for a Primitivo. You know, when people are asking me for a benchmark for my Primitivo, they want to compare it to something that they recognize. So I'm often asked, well, how does your Primitivo compare to, say, a Zinfandel? When I'm using a marker for how my wine compares to Zinfandel, I like to discuss more an Upper Russian River Valley Zinfandel, something that's a little bit more elegant, a little bit more subtle, not quite as big on the fruit. This wine has some nice structure to it. It's got a little hint of white pepper spiciness to the mid-palate. All in all, I think that this is a very nice example of what a Primitivo grown in California should be. I noticed when I was looking at the label of the Matane that it indicated that this wine spent 4 months in barrel. I think that really gives us a sense of what the winemaker was trying to achieve. It's much more common for Puglian Primitivos to spend closer to 2 years in barrel before they are bottled. This is necessary to tone down some of the tannic dryness that Puglian Primitivos typically exhibit. That this only spent 4 months in barrel before being bottled tells me that the winemaker was probably working with very ripe fruit and really made the wine that they wanted to make, which I guess is good for them. I would not call this a Primitivo. This is a wine that's much more designed for the international market, much more of a big, jammy, fruit-forward Zinfandel. Between the two, this is a perfectly good Lodi Zinfandel, which is fine if you want Lodi Zinfandel. Today we were judging Primitivo, so I'm going to have to give my nod to the Montoliva Primitivo. I know you're shocked to find a bias in this review. Well, that's all for another episode of The Judgment of Chicago Park. Join me next time when we contrast and compare a Montoliva Aglianico with a Terrassi Aglianico from the Basilicata region of southern Italy.